rifle's gone off.
And that's when I heard the scream. The most terrible scream I've ever heard in my life. Oh, he was screaming. Still smoke coming off it. Thought he was dead. Put my hand in his non-existent hamstring, put him over my shoulders and started carrying him out.
The following is a conversation with Matty Wright, renowned Australian hunting dog breeder, hunting guide, one of the most beloved hunting personalities in the Australian hunting community, and good friend of mine. In July of 2023, Matty and his nephew were involved in a hunting incident where Matty's nephew was tragically shot. This made nationwide news. In this conversation, Matty and I sit down and talk in detail what happened during this incident, the events that led up to it, during it, and after it, not shying away from any of the painful emotions or the trauma. Now, when a story like this comes out, there is a temptation for people to make rash and uninformed judgments, especially in social settings, pointing the finger of blame. This is neither helpful nor is it productive. It's okay for us to listen to stories like this and have opinions, even strong opinions, but we need to keep in mind that these are serious, complex, and sensitive topics. At the end of the day, what's important are the people involved, their value, loving and caring for them. There are no winners in this story. There is only heartache and trauma, and our job is to listen to these people and then return love and understanding and compassion and grace and help them move through that trauma into a happy life. As always, if you want to support me, this podcast, or yourself, I want to encourage you to check out the Australian Hunters Club, australianhunters.com.au. Through the club, you can gain access to monthly professional and guided hunt giveaways and product giveaways. Genuine reason, you can connect with other members through free member-hosted hunts and member events or our members directory. Both Matty and I are members of this club, and we want to invite you to be a member as well. That's australianhunters.com.au. But without further ado, let's head on to the conversation with Matty. What's the best advice someone's given you? Like a phrase that you just go, that's just wisdom.
This one sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's recent too.
Yeah.
And it's really out there and it just resonates with me all the time.
Is it rude?
No, it's definitely not rude.
Okay.
He's got two of them, and because I've been hanging out with him a lot for the last couple of years, his name's Brad Tonkin, actually, from Fish Travel Fest Explore. The guy is an absolute crackerjack.
Yeah.
So one of them would be never sell your rabbit traps.
Okay.
And the next one
is that the equivalent of never sell your guitars?
It could be, yeah. Well, it could. Well, I'm not really a
guitarist.
guitarist. I can play Smoke on the Water.
They
so
say
really
never sell your guitars. Yeah, okay. To never sell your rabbit traps. I like that.
I'm good on a D-, maybe. And the next one would be, which is really true.
Yeah.
Is nothing ever stays the same forever.
That's really true. That's really comforting.
Yeah.
In a world that feels like it's constantly changing, but at the same time you feel like you're stuck in a rut. That's some good wisdom.
Well, it could be a rut, or it could be something really good. Like it could be a property that you have as well, and then it gets passed on to the next generation as well, and then all of a sudden something good that's happened hasn't stayed the same forever. So it always moves on. So you could use it either way. It's always whether it's good or bad.
A lost relative that ends up having a deer hunting property that you inherit.
Yeah. Well, I got an email not long ago saying, you've just inherited 33 million from Scotland. And I knew that was rubbish. I nearly fell for it. I had to hit up Amy and just go, is this legit? She was like, no, don't reply back to that. I thought I was in luck for once.
Oh man, wouldn't that be amazing? That'd be incredible. So there's something one specific topic that I want to talk to you tonight about.
Yep.
But before we get into that, I thought it'd give people some context. So for people who are watching this on YouTube, you can see we're cracking fire. We're sitting in an old dairy mill. Dairy shed?
I'd say it's a dairy. I don't know where you get the mill from. Well, they churn butter. That's almost milling, I guess.
Dairy.
Dairy. I think you're actually staying in the churn butter side.
I am the churn butter. We're staying on this gorgeous property that Matty has access to in this beautiful old dairy shed, and we're hunting on this property, fallow and sambar. and this is end of day 2, and it is stinking hot, middle of February, cracking hot. So I wanted to catch up with Matty. Just because we haven't actually, this is the first time we've actually caught up hunting before.
Yeah.
We've done some social stuff, but
a bit here and there, like wild deer expos.
Yeah, but it's nice to catch up
on the phone.
and actually hunt.
Good. Yeah, and hang out.
So this morning we went out 5 o'clock and smashed a fallow. That was fun.
Yes, that was really good.
Across a gully. That was fun. That was like 300, and it was funny because it was so dark, and we picked him up pretty quickly. There was a doe, and there was a doe and a fawn, and I could see them in the binos.
Yeah.
And the second I went to the rifle scope, I just couldn't see him. And when I punched all the way through to max magnification, it was just blurry, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it and change it. So I had to dial back, and eventually found the doe. And I'm going to be completely honest with people because I think that's really important. I was like, okay, 300.
Don't let this leave a sour taste in your mouth.
And I whacked it at 300. And I didn't see, because the lighting was so poor, I didn't see the impact.
Yeah.
Didn't hear the impact. And was really relying on you to say whether it was a good hit or not. And I'm like, what's going on, Matty?
Like it's still standing. It's walking somewhere.
Yeah.
And not far.
Yeah, so it walked about, I don't know, 4 meters, 5 meters. And then stopped broadside, and I whacked it again, and then it you heard the impact,
smoked it there,
and it dropped. And we have my son Eli with me too, which has been fun. He's been giving Matty.
He's a legend. He gives me, he grills me. It's good. He grills me on my toes.
Matty's on an edge. Matty has a swearing jar, and he's already up to $95, and that's with
and that's good. I would normally have that in 2 minutes,
and that's with discounts too. And it was just really. Lots of blackberries. Blackberries, right?
So many blackberries.
So we left it, and Eli didn't have gaiters on, and so we left him at the bottom of the gully and travelled up, and found the deer, and it had 2 holes in it, which is good because there was 2 shots.
One was really large.
One was just like the worst gut shot, and it was the bottom of the guts too.
Poor thing.
It was like, oh, don't say that. It was the bottom of the guts, went straight through, and then I was starting to feel bad, and then I looked, and the second shot was like textbook.
Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better. Straight through the shoulder. Double lung,
and heart,
and obliterated the heart.
Yeah.
And so I felt terrible. And then I felt real good.
I felt terrible because I wanted to eat the heart.
Yeah. You actually said,
favorite bit.
You said to me, do you reckon we could keep it? And I was just like, what?
It's a bit much.
By the time you cut around it, there's not a lot of heart left on a fallow when it's absolutely minced.
Might have got 2 rings off it or something.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But it's been really good. We went out tonight and we didn't see anything.
Nothing.
Bupkis.
Samba Gully's really let me down at the moment.
Yeah, Struggle City.
I think I've never really hunted this property this time of year. So
I don't know what the movements are.
Yeah, it's a lot of figuring out. There's a lot of science with Samba, especially Samba.
Yeah.
Fellow can get in choked up gullies and they'll sit there and they don't have to go far to feed or drink.
Yeah.
We saw that today.
Yeah.
Walked around that corner and all of a sudden,
boom.
There's 5, 6 fallow.
Yeah.
You saw the 1 and 2, like the fawn, but there was another
to the
5,
right.
There's another 4 or 5 behind the tree, like in the saplings as well. But it was kind of like a really terrible light too.
Yeah, it was really. Yeah.
It was kind of coming up, and I even struggled through to pick these deer up.
Yeah. But we got them.
Yeah, it's got the job done.
For the freezer.
It's back in the fridge at the moment.
Well, your fridge.
Yeah, my fridge. I was short of meat, so...
Matty's taking it.
Thanks, mate.
It was a good win. That's good.
I won't take the guts, but you can have them.
Jeez. I nearly forgot the heart, which is not like me. Eli loves the heart, so... Yeah.
Best part.
Greatest
100%.
Yeah, if you are watching or listening to this and you haven't eaten deer heart, go do that. Like, you won't regret it.
Eat it raw. No, don't eat it raw. Sorry.
It's the best part of the deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I describe it as like the juiciest steak you'll ever have.
How can you explain the flavour? What do you reckon it is?
Well, see, I struggle to describe it because I like it so much, and I think I've lost the context of like it. So people would say, "Oh, it's a gamey taste," and it's like, well, to me, it's not anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is hard because then it's difficult to describe to people, because I just describe it in terms of, oh, it's super juicy, or like, oh, it has a slight rubbery texture.
Almost like calamari, like that calamari.
Not
texture,
as much as that. I'd say
not. Yeah.
I'd almost say more like a mushroom. Like it has that. Sometimes
a
mushroom.
Eat mushrooms. How do you know?
I've been eating champagne nongs recently.
Champignons.
No, champagne nongs. They're great.
Well, okay.
So yeah, it's just got a little bit of a slip to it. Is probably a good way to describe it, and it's amazing. It's and it's so juicy. You'd think that the heart would be like really tense and tight, and because it's just constantly working, right? It's a muscle that's just constantly working, back and forth, contracting, expanding. But it's actually just incredibly juicy. And once you cut off all the fat from the top of it, it's a tasty little morsel.
Well, I didn't really start eating heart until, like, I reckon, early to mid-20s.
Yeah.
When I really got stuck into hunting. My best mate, Jace Truan, like, he's who I started hunting, like, deer hunting with, actually.
Yeah.
And he's a God, that guy, he can hunt.
Yeah.
And his dad would show up just to hang out with us. Legend.
Yeah.
Les Truan, and he'd bring lamb heart all the time.
Yeah.
So we explored after lamb heart and went on to deer heart and beef heart and so on, and chicken heart skewers. And
yeah. I've still seen that.
I try to explain it as it tastes like the meat you're eating.
Yeah.
But just a little bit stronger.
To the next level, yeah.
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 Which with deer, it's perfect because everyone says deer's gamey, which is, if it's looked after, it's way off gamey.
Yeah.
Like
true.
It's nothing like a lamb or something like that.
People are lazy, and
I think
and time poor, and I don't use that even in a negative sense. Like that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And so, if you can't just grab a piece of meat like steak, like beef or chicken or lamb even needs a bit of work sometimes. Like people are just not interested in taking the time to make it awesome. And then they say that it's not good, and it's like, well, it is good. You just haven't got the time to bring that out of it. So I'm a sucker for that. Like that's why I mince a lot of deer, because I just.
But apparently, gamey, like that doesn't resonate with me. Like,
I don't even know what that word means. Like
gamey, like I'm thinking, gamey. Well, lamb's real rich.
Lamb is gamey.
And it's not.
Yeah.
It's not even close to lamb.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know what to say when people say that.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow. But anyway, people do.
People can swallow that hard pill.
So, I want to talk to you about a sensitive topic.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a traumatic topic. And so I want to handle it with as much sensitivity as we can, and for you to know that you have permission to not share things, not say things, or share as much as you feel comfortable. And I guess I want to make sure that the people watching and listening give you the time and the space to talk, because unfortunately it's the kind of thing that some people might have strong opinions on. Right?
Oh, definitely.
And I think they would only have strong opinions on it. Well, not only, mostly have strong opinions on it when they don't have the full picture.
Or if they don't know me.
Well, yeah, I guess, and that's the same one.
But everyone's going to have their opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just want to you to know that you can share at your own speed, at your own level of detail, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And for people to be open-minded and hear Matty's heart, hear what he's saying, and also what he's not saying as well. It's equally as important. So what I want to talk about was an incident that happened last year that involved your nephew and a hunting trip that went.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. It's pretty close, like, to next year. Like, it's still, like, 7th of July, so it's 6 months ago. A bit.
Yeah.
So it's pretty raw still. Yeah.
Well, so tell me, go back to that day, or even the days before that, and walk me through what happened.
So me and my nephew and nieces, really close. I don't have kids, so I've always been really close with them. So I've taught them everything from foraging, hunting, gun safety, while being a professional guide as well. Like, it's something that really resonates and kind of made me embarrassed for a while too.
What happened?
What it actually happened.
Yeah. Like,
I was like, why did it happen to me? Could I have changed anything? And now I think about it all the time, probably a million times a day, and just go, wow, the only way I could I could have avoided that situation is probably not get up in the morning. Because I believe now, after speaking to people, having such a good hunting community behind me, I know there's going to be backstabbers that don't really say anything to your face, but I don't really care about them. All I care about is the people that are face to face and are there with you every day. So I really resonate with them, and it's just a situation. I don't know if a lot of people watch Final Destination, but it's the freakiest accident that could happen, really.
Uncanny.
Without rambling.
Yeah.
So my nephew had been hanging out to come hunting with me. We've done everything from yabbying to fishing to hunting, foraging, and I've taught him all of that, especially through COVID. It was.
And he'd been hunting with you before.
Yeah. And he'd taken deer before, and he had blood eyebrows, and we blooded him, and he was great because for a kid that doesn't really like blood as well, so it was a different change. So pretty much anything I like, which is footy, which his dad was really good at footy too. Footy, cricket, sports, hunting, fishing, he's just obsessed. So he's like your ultimate little shoulder buddy, you know what I mean?
Little minion.
Yeah, he's a legend. So we headed off. They finally got back from their trip around Australia. We headed off to about an hour past Cheshunt. Stopped in Cheshunt on the way. Sorry, it's not an hour past Cheshunt, so it's an hour from home, so it's about 30 minutes past Cheshunt. And we got to the property, which is my ex-boss's property. Legend, really good dude. Beautiful, stunning dairy property. Not quite like this. It's pretty polished floors, and it's all got copper, like conduit.
Here we are in like tin shed.
And I love it.
Exposed rafters.
It says history, doesn't it?
100%.
It's got history.
There is a lot of history here.
So we went to bed early, about 9:30. Freezing cold night. Woke up at really early, about 5-6 a.m. And it was quite foggy, which I wasn't concerned because I had Vegas and beer.
So were you camping?
No, so we'll stay in the dairy.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
The dairy's got bunks and this dairy has got like, it's like red gum sleeper bumps. Oh, it's off its head.
That's pretty good.
You have to see it. Maybe you might see it one day if you're lucky.
Oh, sneaking in and spotting the dairy.
So, yeah, we had an early night. Woke up and gave me nephew a hot chockey and I had a coffee. And we were just pretty much waiting for the fog to clear.
Yeah.
So
this is just to clarify. This is during June or July. This is during July.
This is July.
July.
This is July the 7th.
Okay, so July the 7th in Victoria,
Yep.
in the high country, which is typically, it's starting to get colder.
Rose River. It's pretty much.
Yeah.
There's been a few accidents there. I don't know if it's juju or don't know what's going on there.
Sure. And a foggy morning is not. I guess what I'm saying is a foggy morning is not uncommon in an area like that.
Especially not there.
It's like Samba country.
It's pretty common. Yeah.
If you wake up and it's a foggy morning, you're like,
stay in bed.
You're like, this is a good no. You're like, this is a good morning to hunt Samba.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like during summer, that area everything's crunchy. You can't move through. That being seen, like,
well, a foggy morning. That's what me dogs are so good at. Like,
you were talking about this, that like, you explained that the fog is like when that burns off. That fog is like catching on the deer.
Yeah.
Holding onto the deer.
Scent is vapor.
Yeah. Particles and vapor, yeah.
Particles
are
going straight up my dog's nose.
Yeah.
And that's perfect for a pointer.
Yeah.
So those mornings that are wet,
there's just more particles, right?
Yeah, it's
more particles
just going. Vegas and Big Ear just thinking, wow, this is my ultimate day.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah. They're just so stimulated, right?
Yeah.
They're loving it. Okay, yeah.
Super stimulated. So we head off to the back paddock, which is behind the dairy, and get to the fence line and walked up pretty much like a goat trail type thing.
Yep.
And the thermals kind of switched, so I started heading east.
Mm-hmm.
About halfway up, so it was like falling from the top but rising from the bottom. So my dogs had pick of the bunch, really, didn't they? Like, so they've got anything that's coming from the top, anything that's coming from the bottom.
They can
going
smell both.
Right in their nose.
So maybe this is a good opportunity to explain how thermals work. So
yeah, this is a good one.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
So essentially, because I think a lot of people get confused about thermals.
100%.
Not a lot of people understand it.
I still get confused.
Yeah, so do I. 100%. And some people think that they know what thermals are.
Yeah.
And then they explain it to you. And they're 100%.
It's not those things that you put in your eye.
No. We're talking about the heating and cooling of air in the mornings and the evenings, and how that affects essentially smell, right?
Well, it's pretty similar to expansion and contraction too.
Yeah, and it's like in the context of elevation.
Yeah.
So give us a 101 science lesson on thermals, how it works and how it affects hunting.
Well, I'm no scientist.
We'll give
but
us,
I know a bit.
Give us the Matty Wright.
So, if you read some books, which a lot of people have,
it's a good start,
isn't it?
It is.
They will tell you that if you're on their face, you're in their face, which is...
Oh, I know the book you're talking about.
It's correct. But with a pointer or a dog, I want to be in their face. I want to be right up in their grill.
Yep.
So they will tell you, a few other books that will tell you also that you got to be, as soon as you're up in the morning, you got to be on top of a ridge.
Yeah. Because and the excuse that's given is because of the quote unquote thermals.
Bollocks.
Yeah. Which is what they say, right?
Yeah.
But that's the word that they just drop, and you're supposed to understand what that means.
Yeah. So anything in the shade, or anything that's dark at that time, the thermals are still dropping. So if you've got a deer coming up to that bed, when you're on top of that ridge, your scent's going right into that.
Yeah.
So the best thing about having a pointer is you can get up, you can have a bacon and egg sandwich, coffee, and you want to be on top of that ridge at about 10 a.m. when it's full lit up.
Which is that's so late for a deer hunter, right? So like wind back a minute. So let's say 5 o'clock, everything's pitch dark, everything's cold. Okay, so the ground is cold, the air is cold, and hot air rises, right? And so the smell essentially is being held wherever the wind is blowing. It's pushing the smell. Obviously, that's always going to happen. But in terms of like moisture and the thermal currents, they're not doing much, right? They're just sitting still, are they?
No, they're moving the whole time.
They're constantly moving. Okay.
Constantly moving.
But then when the sun comes up, it heats up the ground.
Yeah.
And it starts to evaporate moisture.
Yeah.
Which
and
then
lift it.
So it starts to rise from the ground,
yeah.
which takes the scent from the ground or whatever's on the ground and pulls it up. Because obviously it's evaporating off you too, right?
But you got to think about the angle too. Like it depends on what kind of pitch you're on.
Yeah, correct. And if you're
if it's coming up there, like it's hard to explain on a camera.
Yeah.
But if you've got a thermal, you want to be a podcast. If you got a thermal coming straight up a hill, you're going to be better off. And you got to think about a dog too.
Why do you mean better off? You mean better off for the deer above you, or better off for the deer below you?
It's better off for you and your dog.
Okay. But if you're not, let's say most people don't hunt with a dog, right?
Yeah, okay.
So for a deer hunter who doesn't hunt with a dog,
what you got to do is you can also, you can get up early in the morning, to be honest.
You can, yeah. You should. If you don't have
it. But you can use, if you know how to use thermals, you can use the shade to your advantage as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a tricky one. It's a lot of kind of suck and see what happens, you know.
So what I've been told is, and maybe this is incorrect, is that you need to be careful that you're not too low, because your scent, when the sun's starting to rise, will get... So first of all, you don't want to be too low because the deer are coming up. So you want to be above them. You want to be shooting down at them is to an advantage. And your scent is going to get, in terms of, at least in terms of the context of thermals, your scent is going to get pulled up, potentially, with the thermal current. So any deer that's above you is gone. It's like, you're not going to see it. Any deer that's below you, you've got a chance at seeing. And then as the thermal switches and changes, it's then going to go blow down the mountain. And is that completely wrong?
At what time is this?
Well, I guess that's... Well, I don't know. That's the part of the problem, is that it's different for every time of the year.
If you're in the shade, your thermal air current will be pushing down.
Yeah, okay.
So those deer that are coming up, you've got every chance of spooking them.
So you want to be on a ridge line that's lit up?
100%.
A face that's lit up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're coming up to
which is hard because...
It's so hard.
Traditional deer wisdom from books and stuff says you want to be looking at the face that's lit up, not on the face that's lit up.
That's cross gully stuff.
Yeah. Which is tricky again because
it depends.
So many different styles and types.
Yeah, exactly. It depends if you're
all of our Queensland hunters, WA hunters, South Australia hunters, like, what am I talking about? What is this drawl? What these Victorian high country think they know everything.
100%, and it is a bit of dribble, but it's 100% correct. Like if you just got to be out there to try it.
Honestly, in terms of and this is not to do with thermals, but it's in terms of wind, and I was talking about this with you yesterday, is that when I first started hunting, first of all, no one ever told me that you this sounds ridiculous, is that you should not have the wind blowing at your back, right? No one told me that. So for the first like year and a half of hunting, I didn't see anything. And I'm like, why am I not seeing anything?
Yeah.
And I just had no awareness of the wind. And just zero awareness. I wasn't thinking about it, wasn't feeling it, nothing. And then I started cluing on that this wind is a key component to hunting, and that I should make sure that it's blowing in my face, and then I should be walking in the direction of where the wind is kind of blowing my face.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that as best as I could, but I was still stubborn and didn't know enough about hunting and didn't have enough hunting experience that I would pick spots and treks that were, I thought, optimal for the hunt, in inverted commas, as opposed to the wind. So that, what I mean by that is if I arrived in a spot and the wind was blowing up my back, but that was the direction that I decided I was going to walk, I'd be like, well, I'm walking it regardless, right? And then after a few years, once I decided to get really serious about hunting, I then said, I don't care what I've decided, what maps I've looked at, that all goes out the window. I hop out of the car, I get the puffer, I go, and whatever that does, that's where I'm hunting that way. And then I started seeing deer immediately, instantly.
Yeah.
But no one told me that. And it's just the smallest little piece of a puzzle that if you can get that right, then you're off with a chance. And thermals, is like another piece of that puzzle, right? It's a more complicated piece.
It's a complicated piece
because it's not.
And it's bigger than wind.
Because the wind, and it's bigger than wind because the wind chops and changes based on the will of the wind, which no one really fully understands. It could be blowing this way, it could be blowing that way, it could be swirly, it can switch on you. But thermals, there's a science to it, right? And it works with the wind, and it kind of complements the wind. And so, yeah, we talked about it a lot.
We've been talking about a lot of thermals.
Let's go back to the story.
Hang on. What about this morning? Remember when I said we had you go check the wind?
Correct.
And it was coming over our ears, and I said,
"You said
we get around this corner," and we took two steps, and it was coming in our face.
It would be different, yeah. And what's funny is, we'll go back to the story in a second. People who hang on, I appreciate if you are hanging on and still listening, because it's a big divergence. But what
massive divergence going on here?
What is funny about that is that a lot of hunters will say, "Oh, it's swirly."
No,
it's swirly. Yeah. Oh, hunt was going so well, and it's swirly, and it ruined my hunt. And what you'd say, I imagine, is, no, it's thermals. Like, you just need to understand the contour of the property that you're hunting on, or the state forest you're hunting in, the time of the day, what the thermals are doing. So it's not swirly, which is essentially saying it's random, how frustrating, that's not my fault. It's no, it's thermals. Just figure it out.
Bouncing off of every different gully and every different cold spot going around. So
it can be swirly. It does get swirly sometimes.
So all you got to do is adjust your height.
Yeah.
So you go up or down.
Yeah.
And I was telling you showed you a few things about that over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
That it can change real quick.
Yeah. Because essentially what you're saying...
Don't pack it up and go home.
You're saying that the swirling really is where the top current is meeting the bottom current. And creating like an eye of a storm.
That's pretty much it.
Just get above it or get below it.
Yeah.
Whatever is going to work for you really in terms of the topography.
Don't be lazy.
If it's going to be... Yeah. A lot of hunters make decisions based by what's lazy.
Oh, yeah. It's swirling. I might go back and have a beer with the lads.
But so do deer. Deer do that same thing. That's why we have game trails. All right. So it's swirling and it's foggy.
Yeah.
And it's what time in the morning?
It's about 9:30 a.m.
About 9:30. Okay. And it's still foggy. And it's wet underfoot.
Very, very moist, I would say.
So it had rained the night before.
I don't know if it had rained, but it definitely rained a couple of days before then.
Okay.
And they're big mountain ranges, so there's constant water system, feeding springs as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's something that a lot of people don't really understand about the high country, is that there's a lot of springs. There's a lot of water moving through.
Well, if you look at it from a topo map and you think about it, really, it's an old massive river.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, really volcanic.
All right. So you're out with your nephew.
Mm-hmm.
It's foggy, wet underfoot, bit slippery. About 10 o'clock, and you've got your rifle.
Yep. 300 Ultra Magnum.
Okay. And your nephew's just walking behind you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which he was taught to.
Yep. And I think this is probably an important point to raise and talk about and identify is, was the magazine in?
Yeah, so it's a drop down mag.
What does that mean?
So it's got like a you don't know what a drop down mag is?
No. No, I don't. Oh man.
So it's like the
Excuse
least
me, Chris. Yeah. Are you a noob?
So it's like the least chance of like blocking up. The old drop down mag is like pristine.
So tell me what it is. Don't just tell me what it does. Tell me what
so
it is.
So you can load it from the top, or you can flip it down and load it from the bottom as well.
Okay, I hate guns that you can load from the top. I hate the Weatherby's, beautiful guns. Hate how you load them.
Well, a less chance of clogging up, jamming.
Yeah, but I'm lazy. Okay, so you've got a magazine in.
Yeah.
A drop-down magazine.
Drop-down magazine.
Yeah, I know about them.
Yeah.
Have you heard about them? They're good. Reduced blockage, and you've got the safety on.
Safety on.
And do you have a round chambered?
No safety on because I don't have a round chamber.
Okay. So I say this because there's multiple ways to configure your rifle when you're hunting.
Oh, especially everyone has their own different way.
Yeah, well, especially for the newbies. Yeah. So
which is fine.
It's fine, yeah, and it's all legal. Yeah. So there's no
exactly.
So the second that you enter your hunting zone, and the different states and territories are slightly different on the rules on this, you can technically chamber around and have the safety on. You can chamber around and have a deadbolt, which is a process it's a bit complicated, hard to explain, but you pull the trigger as you drop the bolt, and the bolt is like engaged, but you can't physically pull the trigger. And then you can have a safety on there. You can have the bolt completely pulled out with a rubber band, or even like semi-engaged. That's another one. So the bolt's all the way forward, but it hasn't dropped. And so all you have to do is drop the bolt. I think that's probably the most dangerous. You could technically, if you wanted to, have the magazine in and the bolt completely out, and have to physically put the bolt in your rifle if you wanted to shoot.
A Samba would really love that.
A Samba would wait all day for that. Yeah. Or you could do the dumbest thing in the world and have a round chambered and have no safety on, and just be walking around like an absolute muppet, which I think is technically legal. But
each and I know it sounds bad, but I've heard every one of those ideas has got a horror story.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So what's right and what's wrong? Like it's really hard. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, so what I even said to you before is whenever I go out hunting with someone, and I think it's because I've worked with a lot of guides.
You just throw the gun over your shoulder.
Just catch
and take the bullet.
No, so because I've spoken to a lot of guides and I've heard their horror stories, and I've hunted with a few guides, I straight up say whenever I'm hunting with someone new, how do you hunt? Oh, I say that. How do you configure your rifle? Mm-hmm. What would you like to do with my rifle? Because you tell me, we're on your territory, your grounds, or if it's in my hunting grounds, you'll do what I say, because you're with me, and that's the way it goes. And I don't feel bad about that at all. I'm not being arrogant. Like, it's just like, these are my terms, this is my space, and I want to be safe, and I'll do it. And because sometimes the horror stories I've heard from hunters getting together, and it's like, I don't know if your gun's hot or not. I don't know if you got one chambered. I don't know if the safety's on. And the truth is that I should treat every firearm like it's loaded, and I do, but I still want to know. Yeah. And so many hunters are too nervous to ask, especially when they're hunting with someone for the first time, hey, can you tell me like how your gun's set up, like or what you're planning to do, or when you're going to chamber around. I'll actually ask permission. Like I did it tonight when we were out hunting. I said, do you mind if I chamber around?
Yeah.
And because we got to the...
That's good etiquette, really.
We were already in the hunting area, but I had the magazine in, safety on, bolt closed.
You're in front of us, you're set up.
Yeah, and then when we got to the top of the ridge and there was a possibility, I then, like, well, a higher probability, I said, yeah, do you mind if I now chamber one and still keep, obviously, the safety on and stuff? But I asked. And if had you said no, I would have been like, oh, yeah, cool, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Don't mind. But yeah, to ask. Okay, so your magazine is in, your safety's on, and your bolt's closed, which is pretty much as safe as you can get.
Yeah.
Short of having your magazine out, which I don't know anyone who does that.
Well, you can't have the magazine out if you got a drop-down magazine.
Well, there you go. These are the...
But anyway...
I told you I knew what they are.
We'll teach you.
I told you I knew what they are.
So, yeah, I think the 300 Ultra Magnum, it only takes 3 bullets in the mag.
Yeah, and what grain are they? The ones that you're shooting?
They're 190 grain burgers with 93 grains of powder.
Hamburglers.
Oh, they're moving real quick.
And the reason why you had that rifle and that round was because what?
Well, a couple of weeks shy of that, I had a mate, Brock Hastings, up there, and Brad Tolkien as well. Like, they saw a really big deer, like a really big stag, like huge from the basis to the top,
like a monster.
So I thought, if it's out there at 700 again,
700 meters,
I can stretch it. Yeah.
So you couldn't have done that with like a. You needed something purpose built for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it with like a 22 Magnum or something. I wish I could.
Some people probably could.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can shoot a Samba with a bazooka and it still runs.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the configuration of your gun, and that's your gun of choice, firearm of choice for those reasons. Okay, so you're out there, 10 o'clock, it's foggy.
It's really foggy, and it's really slippery underfoot. So
and the dogs are ahead of you on point.
Yeah. We had already put up a couple of deer.
Yeah.
And which I wasn't sure if they got like a big whiff of it, or they just like kept pushing them on. So we contoured another little ridge, and we were coming through the dogwood, which is like on a game trail as well. Like, it was thick.
Yeah.
It was thick and spiky and slippery.
If you don't know what dogwood is, if you're new to hunting, dogwood is like the bane of every high country hunter.
Stay clear.
It is just the worst. Deer love it because it's the worst to move through, and it's just this terrible, spindly tree sapling kind of thing.
Yeah.
That just it's thick when it's
and
there.
it gets under your shirt.
Yeah,
that's the
it
most
gets under your
annoying
shirt.
part.
It irritates you. When it's thick, and it's noisy. When it snaps, it really snaps.
And if you swear at it, it still stays there. Really annoying.
Doesn't matter how many times you swear at dogwood, it stays there. Unlike other flora and fauna, when you swear at it, it just moves. It's just, the seed parts, and you've got a clean game trail to walk through.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're pushing through dogwood.
Pushing through dogwood.
How's your nephew doing? He's happy?
He's happy.
He's
as Larry. We actually had a photo just before that.
Yeah, okay.
Like just a bit of a selfie.
Yeah.
And we come through the dogwood, and I went through the dogwood first, kind of catching sticks and trying to stay upright.
Yeah.
I was like moonwalking through it.
Yeah. Which I think it's also like, again, you say that, but there's actually some etiquette behind that, right? If you're with a little tacker and you're pushing through hard country, it makes a big difference if you push through first.
Yeah.
And create a bit of a space for them. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I do it with Eli. If we're going through even something as simple as blackberries,
yeah,
I'll like stomp them. I'll push them down so that when he's coming through, he doesn't have to. Like, so yeah, okay. So you're pushing through. You're running a bit of a trail.
Making a bit of an impression.
Yeah, on the dogwood.
Yeah.
Polite, well-mannered dogwood.
And then as I was coming to the end of it, and there was heaps of eucalypt trees, like I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. I'd hunted it before, so I kind of knew.
You knew where you were getting to.
Yeah, I kind of knew I was coming up. And Vegas had the collar on, which is like a Garmin TT15 collar, and I had the Garmin Alpha 100, and it buzzes when she's on point.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, pointers, on point means what?
On point means
she's seen a deer or smelled a deer.
She's seen a deer. She's trained to. It's not like a hound. They're not going to chase it.
Yeah.
So they're trained to find it, smell it, and point at it.
Indicate. Yeah.
Yeah. Until I get there.
She stops. Well, I mean, classic pointer. She stops. She's super focused. She's looking, and her tail is like straight.
Well, you saw her when we were taking her out for a run the other day.
Yeah, they become like an arrow, right? Yeah. And Vegas is like unreal.
Yeah.
I'm actually really keen. We're gonna be hunting later in the year. When is it? Like late
September,
August, September. Yeah.
September.
I'm really keen to see what she can do because
she'll put on a show.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. She's so focused. She's so Matty's got two dogs. He's got Biggie and he's got Vegas.
Biggie's a funny bastard.
And Biggie is just like
a goofball.
A goofball. Like he turning over rocks, literally flipping rocks with his paws and like cackling to himself as he's doing it. And Vegas is just all business, but loving too. Actually,
yeah.
In her way, she's like when you break through, she loved Eli. She was happy with him.
Yeah. Well, that's really hard.
There you go.
She doesn't like many other men except for me.
She's a loyal girl.
She's my daughter.
So she's on point. So she smelled a deer, and she's indicating. She's pointing to it.
Yeah.
And you get the buzz.
The buzz.
And is that buzz triggered by the fact that she stopped for a period of time?
If you got an Alpha 100, you can put it on point, which is like for your pointed dogs.
Yep.
Or treed, which is pretty much for your hounds, which is bailed pretty much.
Okay, so when they're running circles, it's saying it sends the message. It's like bailing, or when a dog stops and it's a pointer, it says on point.
So it has to be so many seconds, you know. Like
X amount of seconds where this behavior is being just
Yeah.
Okay.
So I rifled around.
Yep. Because it's business time.
It's business time. And I found my feet, like I wasn't slippery anymore. And as I came through, I saw Biggie to my left pointing first.
Okay.
And then
How far were your dogs? Like 60 meters, 50 meters?
Oh, Biggie kind of stays pretty close.
Okay.
So he was probably about 30, and I reckon Vegas was about 40.
Okay, yep. And when
she was more to the right on the game trail, and Biggie was down low.
Traditionally, when they're on point, how far away is the deer?
Well, this deer would have been about 15 metres in front of him.
Wow, that's so close.
Mate, I've got pictures of them like up their nose, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're not pointing. But will they point when the deer is like 100, 200 meters away?
100%.
Yeah. Further? 300, 400?
No.
Okay.
They'll want to creep in.
Okay.
They'll want to get a good whiff of it first.
Okay. Before they commit to the fact that they think it's something that's worth hunting. Okay. Okay, cool. So it's 15 meters ahead of Vegas, and Vegas is pointing. And you've seen Biggie, and then you see the deer?
Then I saw the deer.
Okay.
So I've pulled my rifle up to go shoot.
It's on your backpack?
Wow.
Or
no, it was on my shoulder.
On your like a sling?
Yeah, on a sling.
Okay.
It's actually a spiker sling. They should give me some free stuff, shouldn't they?
I'm so sorry for laughing, given
it's good.
what we're about to talk about, but that's just very funny.
So
Says the two guys wearing Ridgeline. Yeah.
Yeah. So before that, actually, I've obviously had it on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Rifled one, and then slipped a bit again. And as I've slipped a bit again, I've landed on my knees.
Could you see the deer?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So after I rifled one, I think it happened so quick. Like, it's still a bit of a blur, but I remember most stuff. I believe I've put it back on my shoulder. But I always had, like, if I do that, I always had the safety on. Who's to say I've stuffed up? Like, I could have.
Yeah.
Could have. And I'm not going to say that I didn't, because it happened that quick.
Yeah.
So I've slipped over again, got to my knees, went to grab my rifle, and it went off behind me.
Yeah. So it fell off your shoulder?
No, it was still kind of there, and I was like leant over because it was a really steep hill.
Oh, I know. So like, I know what you're doing.
It's kind of
so
like,
it's kind of, you're going to go up the hill, and it's like slip, and then it's like,
and it like seesawed back.
The sling is slipped, and like, which has happened to anyone who's had a sling before and tried to hike the high country or hunt the high country.
Yeah.
Okay, the sling is slipped, and then the rifle's gone off.
It's gone off.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's when I heard the scream.
Yeah.
The most terrible scream I've ever heard in my life.
Do you still hear it?
Yeah, I do. It's been a while, but from time to time I do. Like, it was just especially for someone that you love so much, to hear him scream is atrocious.
So you hear a scream, gun's just gone off.
Yeah.
You're thinking, like, what's your first thought?
I thought I'd like shot at the deer. Like, it happened that quick. I was like, what, did I just shoot at the deer and it ricocheted?
Yeah.
But I didn't even shoot at the deer. Didn't do anything.
That's how full on it was.
Your brain was just going, doing circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, realised that he was holding his leg, crying. And, shocking. Like,
so you turn around and you see, you're like looking at him, and he's
still smoke coming off it.
Yeah.
I still remember seeing that, like, the vapour of the smoke, and I'm just like, God, that did not happen.
And it hits him where?
Hit him in the upper thigh.
Okay.
Missed bone, major artery, major nerve as well.
Wow.
Like, super lucky, but very unlucky at the same time. Like, he's built like that. Like, he's a little weapon.
He's a stick.
Yeah, he's a stick.
Which is pretty incredible, considering the round.
Oh, if that hit bone,
yeah,
we wouldn't be sitting here talking.
Yeah.
We'd be dead.
Yeah.
So luckily, I always carry a first aid kit, guys.
Yeah.
Always carry.
It's not just a joke. Yeah.
Whether it be some duct tape, a pressure bandage, whatever. Always carry that, because that pretty much saved that kid's life.
Yeah. And so how quickly did that kick in? Because straight away. So this is what's interesting, because
survival mode is an amazing thing.
Yeah, because this is funny. So I had this experience too, and I've seen both happen. I've seen people in a traumatic situation. I've seen like an incident happen, and I've seen one person immediately respond, almost like they don't even have a choice. Like they're programmed. They're like, boom, they're this completely activated. Activated is probably a good word. And then I've also seen incidents where people stand there and they stare, and they're like in shock, or they're just don't know what to do. Like, we had this situation when I used to work for the Department of Justice in the corrections, and my wife worked in the same, and we would walk home from work, and one day we were walking home from work, and we saw this girl. I saw her first because her behaviour was odd. She was a young woman, probably in mid-20s, and she was standing there with all these papers, like clipboards and binders, which is not uncommon because from the Department of Corrections, it's probably 100 metres to the courtroom. And you see a lot of state and government workers go back and forth between the courtroom. I would do it, between the courtroom and the courthouse and the corrections facility, or the state government offices. And I noticed that she was just standing there, but not looking at what was in her hand, and not looking really at anything. And then all of a sudden, and I kind of, as I was walking, I stopped talking to my wife and was watching her, and then she just dropped her everything. It just dropped, and then she dropped, and I remember just
dropped a bundle,
everything. And I remember running in a sprint before she hit the ground, just being completely activated, everything inside of me, and got to her, and she was convulsing. She was having a seizure, and so turned it on her side, and it started going through this process and reassuring her and holding her head back. And all these different things. And my wife, Amy, and I'm not saying this is one person is right, one person is wrong, but it was was in shock, didn't know what to do. And not because she hadn't been trained in first aid, just because the synapses in her brain weren't going to fire in that way and in that moment.
Well, it's not her fault.
It's not her,
really.
Correct. It's not her fault. But I just find it interesting that some people are completely activated in that situation, and some people aren't. And so obviously you were activated, so you immediately started to address.
Oh, mate, I've lived 900 lives.
Yeah, yeah. You've lived a few.
This is a couple.
Yeah.
In 40 years.
Yeah.
Wow. If we want to tell stories, we could go all night.
So he's holding his leg.
Yep.
He's screaming.
Yep.
And it's I imagine it's not the kind of scream that's just owie, that hurts. It's like an intense.
No, it is an owie type. This hurts. It's not it's
death
not
call.
A dark death call.
Okay.
He wasn't sure what had happened, but he was
yeah,
kind of he wasn't I've just been shot by a 300 Ultra Magnum,
yeah. And so
designed to shoot deer from a kilometre away.
Yeah. So you grab your pack.
I've already got my pack on.
Yeah. So
I just gathered my feet.
You jumped up. You opened your pack and you grabbed out
first aid kit.
Tourniquet, first aid. Yeah.
Still got that same first aid kit.
Yeah. What did you do?
So I didn't have the pressure bandage I normally run a roll of duct tape because you can use duct tape on anything.
Duct tape it's amazing.
If you've rolled your ankle, if you got a snake bite, whatever.
Yeah.
So I got out a bandage and I tourniqueted his leg, and he actually had ridgeline pants on. So that helped out a lot, actually. So as soon as I looked down at his pants, I saw the cord string.
Mm.
Wow, who thinks about that?
Mm.
Take the cord string out, wrap that up, put my hand in his non-existent hamstring as well, and
why'd you do that?
I don't know how I thought about that, but I've always known a bit of first aid, and I was just if he can feel this, he's going to be alright.
Mm.
So plugged up the wound with his hamstring and put him over my shoulders and started carrying him out.
Did he?
Oh, he was screaming.
And did he express, I just know young boys because I've got two of them, and I know they can be quite opinionated, and especially when there's pain involved, depending on their different. So I have two boys with very different pain tolerances and thresholds. One of them, you can kick him in the face. Not that you do. You can kick him in the face, and he'd just take it like a champ. Yep. The other one gets a pin needle, and it's death's door kind of thing. But I know, like, sometimes that they're like, I imagine your nephew was reading the situation himself. Did he want to move? Or was he like, let's just stay, like or did he have any feedback at all?
He didn't have much choice, because when it first happened, about 10 seconds later, his eyes were rolling back in his head. So I knew I had to create some sort of... Well, I didn't know, but my mind knew that I had to create some sort of pain to keep him alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I put my arm in his wound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
just to keep
I would never think about that. Like, that's just some sort of weird brain... I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's strange.
Yeah. So you throw him over your shoulder. How much does he weigh? You said he's a stick.
he's built like a whippet, the poor kid.
So he's what, probably 50 kilos?
Oh, smaller.
40?
Smaller.
30.
But
so
absolute gun.
So he's literally... I'm not having a crack at him.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the context. So it's like you're carrying out a deer, like a fallow.
Yeah.
You just chuck him over your shoulder.
But he got kind of heavy for a bit too, so I had to drag him for a while too.
Yeah.
So the poor kid went over logs and everything. Like, he was getting dragged over logs.
If you're listening to this and you live in South Australia or Queensland or even WA or the NT or New South Wales, it's hard to describe how much it would suck being dragged through the high country.
Especially through dogwood as well.
Dogwood is exposed rocks that are like razor blades, logs everywhere, bracken up to your armpits, like it, and everything is just inches apart. So it's like it would not be fun.
Everything hurts, doesn't it?
I've dragged a sambar stag with a winch, like through, and I felt bad for the stag, like. Just through about 100 meters of bush to get him up to a truck. And he made a hole through that bush, but my gosh, it was, not pretty. So he's over your shoulder, and so between you and the car, how far as the crow flies?
I reckon it was about 3 kilometres.
3 kilometres, okay.
Which it's pretty big in... Especially you guys, if you're listening, like, as you said, like WA and New South Wales and Queensland and stuff, it's quite steep.
Well, that's the challenge, is to describe what 3 kilometres is in with when it comes to elevation. Any elevation makes a kilometre that much harder. Yeah. Especially when it's especially if it's like a 45-degree angle kind of country, like it's just everything takes time.
But the last kilometre is pretty much by car, which is okay.
Okay. So you drag him as far as you can.
Yeah, drag him and carry him as far as I can.
To what? To a fence line,
on the other side of a corner of a fence line between neighbouring properties.
And what's running through your mind at this point? What are you thinking?
It's amazing. What your mind can do to save someone is insane if you can work it like that. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how my mind got us out of there. Like, to this day.
Were you thinking, like, I think I've killed my nephew?
Oh, yeah.
My nephew's going to...
And I'm thinking, I've got to get him out of here. Like, I've got to get him out of here quick.
Did you think he was going to die?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Thought he was dead.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead in the first 10 seconds. Yeah. Let alone 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real bitter pill to swallow, isn't it?
Mm.
It's not even kind of like giggle. You can't even laugh about it. Like, it was just...
Yeah.
It was absolutely shocking.
Mm.
But we got him out of there alive, and with all the other people that helped.
So you've got him as far as you can get him.
Yep.
But at this, so I imagine Did you? So again, there's context for anyone who's not familiar with the high country. Reception is difficult with the phone.
Oh, shocking.
At any given point, you assume that you don't have reception.
Don't ring 000 if you don't have to.
And so I imagine you didn't have reception at the start when the incident happened.
Yeah.
And you imagine you would have been checking at any and every point as you're getting to the point where you got. So you get to the point where you stop with him, and then you have reception there.
No.
Still don't. Okay.
Still don't have reception.
So then you need to make a decision about what. There's no one else. No one's going to help you.
Yeah.
So what do you decide to do?
So I gave Jack a job. Oh well, I gave my nephew a job. He's good with jobs. So I told him, you need to stay alive for me, and you need to look at. Sorry, I'll start that again. So I gave Jack a job. He's really good with jobs.
Start again.
Okay.
You said Jack.
So I gave my nephew a job. He's really good with jobs.
Yeah.
He's really good at you can give him any task in the world and he will do it.
Yeah.
So I said, I've got a job for you, mate. And he goes, yeah, what is it? And I said, you need to stay awake and count every leaf on that gum tree that I've just put you under.
That's really good.
Yeah. And he goes,
that would be so incredibly frustrating.
Oh, so yeah. It was a lot of leaves.
And probably
it was a big tree
and a bit of wind as well. That would make it hard.
Oh God! So I hightailed it across to the jetty.
And he's lucid enough to, so he's managing the pain, right? So
yeah.
He's lucid enough that his eyeballs aren't rolling back. That you can talk to him.
Yeah.
And you can reason with him.
Eyeballs rolling back stopped then.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So he's really kicked in.
So you can engage with him.
Yeah.
And his wound is bandaged, so he's not looking at his leg.
Yeah.
Did he share anything with you, between that?
Oh, I can't look at his leg. It was just tourniquet.
Yeah.
So there was meat coming out the back. There's a lot of meat.
And did he say anything? Between that point where you started dragging him and carrying him, did he say anything to you?
Not that I can remember. I remember him saying that it hurt and slow down and all that stuff.
And you just have to ignore that.
Oh. You can't stop.
Tell you that, being a dad and being in situations where I've been in, not like that, but where you know that your child has to experience pain because they, for whatever reason, could be something as simple as they're getting a wart burnt off.
Yeah.
And you're I'm sorry, you have to feel this pain. That is what you went through.
But if they're in pain, they're alive.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't. I agree with you, and I sympathise. But I also, at the same time, I think it's important that people know that is one of the hardest things.
Oh yeah.
To be I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to experience this pain.
Yeah.
And you don't know better. And it's going to hurt me to make you experience it. But I need to save you in this situation. That what that does to the human heart, that's hard to describe. How painful that is.
Yeah.
That someone that you love, to put them through pain. There's been times with both my boys when there's situations, and I get emotional saying it, when they're in pain, emotional or physical, and you have the power to stop it, and they say Daddy, please, and they beg you, and it is the hardest thing to say no. Especially emotionally. There's been times with both my boys where they've said, Daddy, please make it stop. And I've said, you need to feel this. You need to move through this or overcome this, or you don't understand this, or you're making this worse than what it is. And my role as a parent is, yes, to empathize, yes, to sympathize, yes, to sit with you in your pain, yes, if you're willing, explain your pain, but then sometimes allow the situation to play out, and you have the opportunity to grow through it. And that's like, man, does that suck? No one tells you that as a father, as a mother, that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
No one tells you that, and no one prepares you for it, and no one can.
That's where I sympathise with his parents too. Like, to see him, can you imagine being his father and mother, like seeing him on life support?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of strong emotions at play there.
It's going to be a long time feeling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so he's sitting down. He's looking up at the gum tree. He starts counting the leaves, and then you bolt. You run.
Yeah, take off.
Yeah. Did you have the gum with you?
No, I dumped it there, actually.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
I actually took the bolt out, everything.
Which is like against the law, but I actually would be like, I need to move.
I'm thinking, I don't care if I never get my guns back. I don't care. Like, I still to this day, I do not care.
Yeah,
As long as he's alive.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I would have done exactly the same thing. Yeah, I would have taken the bolt out and I would have run like the
But that's exactly like, I would have wrapped that gun around a tree. Like, if I needed it as a winch, I would have used it. You know what I mean? Like, they really care about those things.
So you're running now to the car.
Yeah, so I ran back to the dairy, which is...
Okay.
Yeah, it was a fair hike, and I was still searching for... Because I knew in spots you can get a bit of a reception.
Mm-hmm.
So I got onto AAA.
And if you're listening
not in
Australia, that's equivalent of about 911.
Yeah, they were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
It's really unfortunate. Like, they said stuff like, we can't get to you because you've got... They kept asking me for the address, and the address is down under me. Like, I can't run another 2 kilometres just to check the address. I knew where I was going. But they can see me as well. It was so frustrating, and I kind of knew that.
Did you say, like, I'm in this area, I'm in this region, I
knew, and they'd pinned me.
Yeah.
And then they said, they kind of contradict themselves. So that they say, where are you? And then I said, I need a chopper. Well, we can't get there because there's low cloud cover. I'm just like, I'm up against it.
Yeah.
I'm really up against it.
You felt powerless. You felt like...
Oh, absolutely.
You felt like you need to take matters into your own hands.
100%.
Yeah.
So I jumped in. I got onto Amy and I said, which is my fiance. And I told her, and I said, you need to ring everyone. You pretty much need to ring everyone. This is what happened. My nephew's been shot. Get onto everyone. Cops, ambulance, everyone needs to know about this. Parents, yada yada. So I jumped in my Hilux and I drove through every single bloody fence to get to him that I could find. And got to him, and I kind of was a little bit off target of where I thought he was.
Yeah.
And I yelled out his name, and he said, over here. And I was just like, oh my God, like,
yeah.
I knew everything was going to be all right then. I thought I was coming back to a dead kid.
Yeah. Wow.
And he said to me, he goes, I just watch you. You drove through every fence, you crazy bastard. So you get a good little giggle out of there, you know, like...
Which is awesome.
That's
the spark of life, right?
Keeps you going, you know. And all the colour came back in his face, and he was really up and about. Like, you could see the shock had gone, and he had lifted it, and he was there with me. So we get him back in the car after driving through 9 million fences. I can feel him wrapping around me diffs. I had 0 brakes, and I got back to Cheshunt in about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had to put it in low because I had no brakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So it was a massive misadventure, and I wouldn't recommend it for anyone.
And so you get to Cheshunt.
Yeah.
And you told Triple O, meet me at Cheshunt.
Yep. Said meet me there in 20 minutes.
Meet you at the general store.
Yeah.
Okay. And so...
And they actually said to me, after they could see me pinned, like they've got my GPS coordinates, and they said to me, which store in Cheshunt? And I was like, are you guys serious? There's one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, guys. Help me out a bit, you know?
Did you Google it?
Oh, and they said, stay on the phone with me. I said, I've got a kid to keep alive. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
There's no need for this.
So you arrive at Cheshunt, general store. You run into the general store.
Yep.
You say, what?
I told them exactly what I said. Guys, you got a first aid kit.
Yeah.
I've got a nephew here. He's been shot.
Yeah.
And they were just so good. Like,
they mobilised immediately.
They just pulled out the whole first aid kit. Oh my God, they gave me hugs. They gave everything. They were amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah. Even the other next door too, like Thomas Moritz and stuff, they brought out an angle grinder because I thought I was going to have to travel to Melbourne to follow him.
Yeah. And you need to cut off the wire from...
Had to cut off the wire. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Like where I laid is where I stopped, pretty much.
Yeah, wow. And he's in the car. So you run out, you got the first aid, and by this point the ambulance has arrived? Or the police?
The police were already there, yeah.
Just minutes after Matty and his nephew arrived at the Cheshunt General Store, both the police and ambulance services arrived, quickly taking Matty's nephew to the Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital, where he received treatment and then after a period of time was released. As I mentioned in the introduction to this episode, this is a tragic story. There are no winners, only pain and trauma. But this story does serve to highlight the importance of firearm safety, a cautionary tale to hunters to keep, maintain, and know how to use a first aid kit, and a testament to the power of will that someone can muster in order to save someone's life. I want to be clear here, even at the point of seeming over the top. You can never be too cautious when handling firearms. Firearm safety is one of the most important elements of hunting, especially when you're hunting with other people. Stay vigilant, stay cautious, take every precaution that you can to ensure that your firearm is both safe and under control. All it takes is one freak accident to change your life or the lives of your loved ones. Both Matty and I also want to take this opportunity to send our best wishes to both Matty's nephew as well as his parents. What happened was absolutely tragic. I know that it broke Matty's heart and that he is working hard to both mend that heart but also understand the gravity of what happened and be a better man. It's a difficult thing that happened, and we want to send our best love to you as well as the broader Australian hunting community who got around Matty and supported him during this difficult time. Matty's nephew, if you're watching this, I just want to encourage you. You are a fighter. Your strength of will and the humor that you were able to muster during this difficult situation to get through it and to help others through it is an inspiration both to me and to other hunters. If we can be half the young man that you are as men, the world would be a much better place. I hope you're doing well and can take encouragement from this. Finally, if you enjoyed this episode, maybe you resonated with the friendship that Matty and I had or the community that surrounds us, I want to encourage you to check out the Australian Hunters Club, australianhunters.com.au. There are so many benefits to getting involved, but ultimately at the core of our community, the core of our club is friendships, are people learning and growing together. So if that's something that you want to be a part of, I encourage you to check it out, australianhunters.com.au. Until next time, get out there, go hunting, and stay safe.